The Winter Olympics are now behind us, and it was quite the event. Some people really did improve their stock, and others, it kind of took a hit. So, it is time for a hockey stock watch. Who's up? Who's down after the Olympics? It was an incredible tournament, and it was one that had a lot of attention, and so now it's one where there's going to be a lot of discussion coming out of it. So, who helped their stock? Who hurt their stock coming out of the Olympics? Let's break it down with our Olympic stock watch. Let's start with the ups, shall we? Let's start positively. First, I don't know how you couldn't. It's Macklin Celebrini. This was his arrival to big-time play at the NHL level. He was out there with the best players in the world, and he fit in. And sometimes he thrived. This was an excellent tournament for him. And it's very similar to me, to Jerome McGinley in Calgary back in '02, where I'm like, yeah, I'm really good. I'm really solid. But, I mean, we'll see. Like, I'm an Olympian, but whatever. And then he goes out and he's playing with Sakic and Lemieux, and it's like, oh, well, these guys, they're not that much better than me. Maybe I'm one of the best players in the world. And he just stayed that way for like a decade. We'll see what is to come for Macklin Celebrini, but one thing is for sure is that he fit in there. And so San Jose, tough one against the Flames on Thursday night, but the Sharks, they got a star now. And they have a couple others coming. Like, Misa is just solid all around. Will Smith has been really good with him as well. Toffoli is the perfect veteran to have leading him along, and I like the move with Sherwood. Askarov, I think, needs to kind of round things out a little bit, but there's a lot of potential there in goal. I do think that this kind of puts a bit of pressure on San Jose to take advantage of this now, especially while the kid's on his entry-level contract. So he's the first one whose stock is up for me. Second is Jussi Saros, the goalie, coming out of things for Finland. And I understand, like, Finland's defensive shell can help out a goalie a time or two. But I was kind of working on the theory that he was cooked. I know that it's been bad out in Nashville for the past little while, and you can't necessarily blame him for all of that. But there was also a few times where it's like, man, could have used the save there. And we had that with Finland at the Four Nations as well. And again, it was a banged up blue line. And if you were just, the only qualification to make that blue line was to be Finnish and have played in the National Hockey League. That was it. So they were obviously bit of a disadvantage. But again, it didn't feel like he stepped up in that way that we were used to before. So I was kind of wondering if that decline was happening. And at least from the Olympics, it doesn't seem like it. He was sharp as ever. And he was out there absolutely locked in, giving Finland an opportunity to win. And he's a reason why Nashville is in a bit of an awkward spot heading into this deadline where a lot of people feel like they should be selling. They probably will be selling, but they're also striking distance from a playoff spot. So some fascinating discussions ahead for the Nashville Predators around Jussi Saros. But one thing is for sure is that this goalie is still one of just the more solid goaltenders out there. And then the last one, again, this feels a little obvious, but it is Juraj Slafkovsky from Team Slovakia and now with the Montreal Canadiens. He has been an absolute beast at Olympics past and now stepping up with all the other NHL players there as well, to the point where I was more worried about Canada having to face them than I was Finland when they met in the semifinals. He had that team playing that well. And again, like, he has leveled up a fair amount over the last 18 months or so. Like, he has turned into the guy that Montreal thought he would when they took him with the first overall pick. But again, much like Celebrini, to see him do that at the highest level that this sport is going to offer has to give you just all of the goosebumps for what it could turn into in Montreal and that fantastic core that they have built out with the Canadiens. So those are the ups, but with ups, there do have to come some downs. And we will start with the obvious. Yes, they won the gold medal, but the U.S. men's hockey team with a pretty pathetic display in the locker room after, I don't know how you let Kash Patel in there anyway, and then the laughing at the joke with Donald Trump. It was an awful scene, and it was something that I think kills a lot of the momentum that hockey had with heated rivalry and the growth that was coming from all of that. And I understand that the people who would be celebrating that team, celebrating with Donald Trump, wouldn't exactly be overly thrilled that heated rivalry was a lot of people's entry point for hockey. Not to generalize, but and it was an awful showing. And when you have so many highly respected women's Olympic hockey players that the Americans have, and how dominant of a program they have been for the last little while, and then finally getting over that hump and beating Canada in this and looking dominant in doing so in one of the games anyway, to have the air taken out of that balloon by a bunch of knuckle draggers is really unfortunate. I do think after it, people have handled it okay, but you still have to be mature enough in that moment to understand that that's just not the way to go about it. So a big hit to a lot of players' reputations on that U.S. men's hockey team. Up next, in an entirely different light, it's Sam Reinhart. Couple of years ago, scored 50 goals, scores the game winner to give the Florida Panthers the cup, signs a big contract with the Panthers. It was okay at the Four Nations, but this was not his tournament. He was basically invisible out there, to the point where if Crosby would have played in the gold medal game, Reinhart, I think, would have been kind of an easy out. He was not impactful in any way, shape, or form. The one goal he scored, he didn't even really mean to. It just kind of hit his stick on the way through. So for a guy who had so much going for him a couple of years ago, this was definitely, I think, a bit of a hit to the reputation of one Sam Reinhart. And then the last one is Rasmus Andersson. This is a bit of a combination, as it has not been an easy start for Rasmus or Vegas since making that trade with the Calgary Flames. And then he goes off to Sweden, and he's healthy scratched in a game where Victor Hedman played 0 shifts, but still had to be out there on the bench. And I can understand that leadership and all of those things. But for a guy who is looking for a big long-term contract at the end of this season, that wasn't really the showcase that I think he would have wanted, and it hasn't been the start in Vegas that he would have wanted either. So I think the stock is down just a little bit on the former Calgary Flames defenseman. What do you guys think? I know the U.S. men's hockey one is certainly a polarizing topic, but overall, who went up, who went down for you? Biggest winners and losers from the Olympics? Let me know in the comments, and or hit me up on social media. Again, I am at Primetime Klein.